God help my hair. Hey everyone, Joey here, aka Animus. And today, welcome to the very first Tier List Tuesday. This is cringe. Anyway, so this is a new series I'm starting off where on the last Tuesday of every month I'm just going to do a random music related tier list. So it's either going to be, well, a lot of them are going to be artist discography tier lists with their albums, but sometimes it'll just be any old random music thing just for fun, along with the first Thursday of every month being a Throwback Thursday where I do a random throwback review. So you will have some say in this, but seeing as I came up with the idea quite recently, I didn't have time to put it at like the end of my last video or something. But yeah, you'll be able to sort of vote on which artist I do. So what I was originally going to do what am I doing with my hands? I was originally going to do an Orbital one, seeing as they're sort of my go-to band for talking about, like, in-depth discographies. Yeah, I really am a wonky angle clone. But I realised that I'd done an Orbital March Madness bracket, so why not do the Chemical Brothers? They're another famous 90s electronic band in a fairly similar vein who have 9 albums, so quite a decent amount that I know very well. So, how about we just don't delay and get into doing this? Sorry, that went down the wrong way. Anyway, going chronologically, first album, Exit Planet Dust. Now, I know this album has like a lot of respect and there are loads of people who really love it, but Exit Planet Dust has never really been my thing. I know a lot of people like it for how raw and gritty it is. Some of these tracks I just don't get all that much enjoyment out of. They don't go quite as, well, I do really enjoy a lot of tracks like Leave Home and what was the second one? I can't remember. Put the text up there. But a lot of the other tracks aren't all that interesting in my opinion compared to a lot of their later stuff when they started adding lots of new sounds into their style. However, I do have a lot of respect for this album. I think a lot of people do share this kind of viewpoint. A lot of respect for it. It's not, it's better than quite a lot of other Chemical Brothers albums, but in terms of their, compared to their other stuff, I think I'm going to have to be a bit harsh and put it in the C tier. Sorry guys, I hope no one's going to get mad at me for that. However, next album, Dig Your Own Hole. Fairly similar to Exit Planet Dust, but they added in a lot of new sounds, like I was saying earlier. And this album is amazing. I didn't really realise quite how amazing it was until this one listen. I think it was in the listening party where I just realised, oh my god, this album is basically perfect. I mean, aside from a couple of tracks like, well, main one being Don't Stop the Rock, that track's not that great, but even that is kind of still good. And then you get to other tracks, like, just look through the track listing, you get block rocking, beats, electro bank, basically everything is amazing, and oh my god, the private psychedelic reel is, yeah, I'm being literally the same opinion as the wonky angle, as usual, but the private psychedelic reel is probably the best track they've ever made. If you see it live, it just is completely transcendental, and I love the influences of stuff like psychedelic rock, and, yeah, that kind of stuff, and Setting Sun is insane. Just this entire album hits so hard, and it proves the power of electronic music. It actually just transcends you, particularly when you see it live. It is an absolute classic in electronic music, and for that reason, Dig Your Own Hole goes in the S tier. I absolutely love this thing to death. So, their next album, Surrender, third and final 90s album. This is the album where they start to add more sort of, I don't know what to say, like pop influences. It starts to get less breakbeat focused, less dark and rough. And thing about Surrender is it holds some of their best pieces of music ever made, like Out of Control, Sunshine Underground, Hey Boy, Hey Girl. It has such high highs, if you see what I mean, but it's not a very consistent album. There are some tracks like sort Asleep from Day and like the title track that I'm a bit iffy on. Like, there's nothing that I think is outright bad, but there's some stuff that I really need to be in the mood to enjoy, and sometimes I'm just really not sure about how I feel on. So yeah, I'm not sure where to put Surrender, because I think I prefer it to Exit Planet Dust, but I'm not sure whether it goes in the B tier or the A tier, because some of the tracks are amazing, and like this is really where the Chemical Brothers start to become, you know, what they'd be later down the line. But it's dragged down by some tracks that aren't quite as great, so I think I'm going to put it in the B tier, even though it has some like S and A tier tracks. It's going to go in the B tier for me. Come With Us. Another album I'm not really sure about. It's their first 2000s album, and they didn't fall off in the 2000s. The thing about this album is it's kind of the opposite of Surrender. Surrender had some massive highs, but overall wasn't a very consistent album. This is a very consistent album, but doesn't really have any real massive highs. Other than, I guess, Come With Us and Star Guitar are pretty amazing, but this album's consistently a good album. It doesn't really go beyond for me. So, yeah, it's sort of like in the middle in terms of Chemical Brothers albums. I think I'm going to have to put it in the B tier. I do love its spacey theme and everything. It's, yeah, I really enjoy Come With Us, just doesn't hit the same highs as a lot of other Chemical Brothers albums. Push the Button. Yeah, if you've watched Wonky Angle's videos and you know what I'm like, I know I need to stop bringing him up, but I do share a lot of opinions with him, as well as the hot take that Push the Button is an amazing record. I don't think I love it quite as much as I did before. I've sort of, Dig Your Own Hole is just, I think Dig Your Own Hole has overtaken Push the Button really for me. But Push the Button is so much fun. You know, Galvanize, The Boxer, Believe, Hold Tight London, literally going through the entire track list. The whole thing is an absolute rush of fun. Maybe some tracks aren't that great. I feel like the closer could have been a little bit better, and tracks like Marvo Ging and Shake, Break, Bounce, The Big Jump. But then this album just puts like certain stretches of the album, and basically the entire thing just puts a massive smile on my face. And I know it's very far from the stuff they were doing early on, and I know some people really don't like Push the Button, but it is so much fun for me. And I love the pop influences and even rap in places, and they were just having tons of fun making this album, and I have tons of fun listening to it. So Push the Button is going in the S tier. You know, this is why I kind of prefer doing tier lists to doing albums ranked videos, because stuff like Dig Your Own Hole and Push the Button are two albums that I love for very different reasons, so I don't have to compare them. I'm going to just put them tied, sort of, on the S tier. Anyway, enough talking about that one. We Are the Nights. I think the common consensus is that We Are the Night is their worst album. And actually, I've had some listens where I've enjoyed this a lot more than others. There is some really good tracks on here, but there are also some tracks where I'm just like, what are they going for here? I feel like this was the point where the Chemical Brothers seemed to be the least relevant. They didn't really seem to care all that much about what they were doing. I mean, like I said, there are some tracks that are actually way better than I remember them being, but yeah, stuff that's kind of a bit more weird and wacky and experimental We Are the Night and Saturate are the two big standouts for me on this album, but then there are some things where you think, what are they doing? Yeah, this is not a terrible album, but I think I'm pretty sure that this is their weakest album, and if anything is going to go in the D tier, it's going to be We Are the Night. This is definitely their least focused project. But then, we get to Further. I love Further. I think it's a really, really airtight project. Oh God, I'm getting really hot. There's not a single bad track in the bunch. Other than possibly Horsepower is a bit weak, but apart from that, it's so impressive and it hits the biggest highs, as well as not really having any tracks that I don't like. So yeah, just like the opening suite of Snow and Escape Velocity, 18 minutes is an absolute rush. It feels so, it kind of, it has some of that roughness that you felt on their earlier projects. There are such harsh sounds and it's so noisy, but it's also kind of euphoric, and combined with the videos, yeah, this opening suite is awesome. You see in the Escape Velocity video, just moving through all of these fast lights everywhere, bleeping and blooping and technologic stuff. I completely love it. It's such a journey. Yeah, they've got videos for every single track on this album, which I really like. All these environments, and the other big standout being Swoon, which again is so emotional, but also those sounds that go shh, it makes you feel like you're blasting into the stratosphere. Shut up. Yeah, I'm getting really bored of trades in my videos. Shut up. Well, there are two of them. Further is one of the Chemical Brothers' best projects in my opinion. I don't think it's one of their classics, but it is such a focused experience and I love it. Yeah, Further is going to go in the A tier actually for me. So next, Born in the Echoes. Born in the Echoes is okay. I think it's got some really good tracks like Go. Yeah, Go is the big standout here for me, but I actually kind of enjoy Sometimes I Feel So Deserted more than a lot of people. That sort of atonal noise that track creates, along with having a really pumping rhythm to it. I think some people don't like that track very much, but I do. Also, Under Neon Lights is beautifully weird. Then there's stuff like EML Ritual, which is pretty cool, and Wide Open, the closer. However, it doesn't feel like the most interesting project. It has some lows, some tracks that leave me a bit cold and don't feel like anything particularly new for them. It kind of, it shares some sounds in common with Dig Your Own Hole. I don't think it's that similar to Dig Your Own Hole though, like some people do, but Born in the Echoes is a good album, not their most interesting album in my opinion, not their most interesting or consistent, so I'm going to put it in the C tier. And finally, No Geography, their latest album, which I really enjoyed, whatever the Needle Drop said about it. It is not a 6 out of 10, it's at least like an 8 for me. It's very close to Further in being their best album of the decade. I think I'd sort of tie it with Further. It's so colourful and bright, and you get such amazing stretches of tracks, like the opening suite. Eve of Destruction, Bango, and No Geography is so much fun to listen to. So many sounds. There's a lot of effort I feel like they put into making this album. It's like, yeah, it's so vivid compared to some of their rougher earlier works. Well, it does have some pretty rough tracks, like Free Yourself, with those massive... It's like this really weird drop that's like nothing I've ever heard before. Free Yourself is a great track, and Mad as Hell is also a really rough moment. I love the sort of squealing, what would you call it? Yeah, sort of wailing synths on that one. But then there are some such vivid, colourful, melodic tracks, like Got to Keep On, the opening suite, like I mentioned before, and, well, there's like, The Universe Sent Me is a great track as well. Basically, everything is a great track, other than maybe Gravity Drops and the closer Catch Me I'm Falling. I really, really like No Geography. I think it's their best album since Further, and I'm going to tie it with Further on the A tier. And that is the Chemical Brothers tier list. I rambled a bit in that video. That was not my most focused video, not scripted at all, but yeah, that was quite a lot of fun to do. I think I did a bit of a good job ranking these albums. I don't think I'd change any of the rankings I've got here. Surrender is almost an A tier album, just keep in mind. I'd like to know what you think, what your ranking would be, if you disagree with any of my rankings, if you agree with any of them. So for next week's Throwback Thursday, I think we're going to continue on the theme of electronic classics, and here are your 4 options. Either Daft Punk's Homework, Orbital's Brown album, Prodigy's The Fat of the Land, or Aphex Twin's Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92. So, I can't really do those YouTube post poll things, because I don't have enough subscribers. So, what I'd like you to do is just leave a comment down, in the comment section, just saying what album you'd most like me to review out of those for next week's Throwback Thursday. And I'll count how many votes I get for the different albums, and whichever one gets the most votes, I shall review. So, yeah, thank you for watching, and see you next time.